what is the right
Yes.
way of spraying perfume? I've used perfume for a long time, but I know there's million people out there
Ye-
like me. And if you're judging me, just
mm,
laugh on your own because
mm.
here we're going to learn what is the best way to use a perfume. So I'm going to embarrass myself on the podcast. I'm the kind of person
Yeah.
who grew up
You are
spraying it on my
who you're
clothes.
allowed to.
Yeah, I'm the kind of person who's just sprayed on my clothes. But I saw somewhere that that's wrong. But now that
Mm.
I got you, you're gonna help us. How is the best way to spray a perfume?
I'm from a beautiful place, the Pearl of Africa. Hailing with a 256, it's in my blood. That's a gem where the mountains rise. With stories untold, the tapestry of cultures unfolding, so vibrant and bold. A symphony of stars, a celestial light. The drums beating, echoing through the night. Just like a beacon of light, a reflection that's coming up from the Nile. I'm flowing straight into the heart of Africa with timeless stories untold. Sup, dog?
3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Let's get it. Welcome once again to another episode on the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. I'm dedicated to bring you stories from your famous people, the regular people, people who want to come here to have a conversation. And I'm happy to hear this feedback back from the listeners that they enjoy the conversation we have here. We've had a lot of conversations with musicians, people who are in content creation. But today I bring you a different topic that actually you need to hear or everybody needs to hear. And today we're going to talk about perfumes or colognes. We're going to ask the questions that too about colognes and perfumes. But it's exciting to get to know more about perfume. You think you know perfume? Tune into this episode and you'll learn a little bit, one or two. And today I'm excited to have Kenneth Otieno on the podcast. Did I pronounce the name right?
Yes, you did it. You got it so right. I'm very happy to be here. It's been a long time. We
Yeah.
just keep on talking. And I think the conversation today might be very interesting and a little bit different from the normal.
Yeah, exactly. And Kenneth is perfume connoisseur. Like that is like somebody who knows about perfumes. And Kenneth, do you know how you got recommended to be on this podcast? Do you know how you ended up here?
Not really, not really. It's even a shock. I would really be interested to know how I got my way here.
So how you ended up on this podcast? I hosted Apas Bagonza on the podcast.
Okay.
And when Apas came on the podcast, I usually ask people, and you should prepare for this question at the end where I ask you, who would you like to see on this podcast next? You're going to be thinking about that through the whole episode. But Apas recommended you to be on this podcast. And I believe Apas is one of your biggest clients too for the perfumes. Your relationship. How did your relationship with
Yes.
Apas start and how did you connect with him?
Yes, I think our relationship is, I think it's almost 10 years now. But we met back days when we were in high school. We were both at St. Lawrence, Creamland campus.
Okay.
So back then we were both good friends. He was a good actor by then. He was singing, but he was more into the comedy side. But life is very funny, Later on, he started singing actually way later, but in the beginning, he was more of a comedian. We did some skits with him back then. So we had a very good chemistry with him. We had things that we shared in common. The principles were there and that we are sharing in common. So the friendship was there right from A level. So way along the way, we lost track because he went to a different school, but I still finished at St. Lawrence. But immediately after school, we kept on like checking on each other. I'm doing this. So when he was even getting into music, we're the first people who were there. We kept on pushing him. We told him, man, you really need to go and get this thing done. So along the way, supporting each other, then around sometime 2018, 2017, I tell him, bro, I have a passion and there's something that I think I want to start up. So he asked me, what do you want to do? I said, man, there's this thing of perfumes. I love perfumes, and I don't think there's a gap in the market.
Yeah.
I think people really need to appreciate that, because the lifestyle was changing. We cannot still believe that we're living in the old traditional days. If you look at the context which now people are operating in, we almost living like in a fast world.
Right.
People want good things, so I wanted to tap in that market. So Epa said, yeah, it's a good idea. Let's start it. So I can tell you, Bonnie's Epa's has been there from zero.
Nice.
and he's still there. He's not just
A
like
client.
a consumer. No, Epos plays a very big role in the Perfume Plus.
That is
Yes.
amazing, and it gives me. That's why I have a big smile on my face when I was listening to that story, because those are kind of relationships
Yes.
we love to see. You know, like I think that's why God put us on the world to meet other people, and somebody holds you on your journey and works with you. So it gives me a big smile to hear that story, because ever since I had Apos on the podcast too, he has stayed as a brother, encouraging me and sending me, uplifting me. Actually,
Yeah.
before the recording, I was just talking to him on WhatsApp. We were talking about some things about content, but to hear him
Yes.
in your story, in your journey, it's amazing. And you mentioned two things that I can see
Yeah.
out of his life that you talked about his story. Like
Yeah.
he was an actor, and then he was like a comedian.
Yeah.
When you see this guy, like he's
Yes.
serious, he can be serious, but when he's funny,
Yes.
and that's why like he cracks jokes all the
Yes.
time, everywhere. And but yeah, that's cool to see that journey. So that was your meeting Apos in Perfume. What is your own? I mean, is it a different story from your own history of perfumes? Like how you got into it? Is it different from your the story with Apos?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. How I got into perfumes, actually, it's about 2018. I made a journey to UK. So along the way, I managed to purchase few fragrances, about 2, 3. So when I came back, the few friends that I had started developing interest. And I've always had passion for fragrances right from way back. So I was doing quite a lot of things before, which I'm still doing aside from the perfume business. So I decided that, why, if friends can keep asking me about these fragrances and, they smell good, where do you purchase your fragrance from? I decided just to, let me give it a trial. So the first thing that I did is I started very small. Around coming now 2019, I started with a very small section, and because I had a lot of OBs and OGs, so through the groups, I kept on posting on my statuses and the demand started coming up. And, I saw an opportunity and I decided to jump into that opportunity. So it's one of the best decisions that I ever make. So up to now, the journey has been through. It's, when you get into business, you don't understand the dynamics. You get into business and you realize, this is not exactly what I thought it's going to be. And then you realize, boom, you've put in so much that you can't withdraw,
Yeah.
So now the only thing that you have to do is to move forward. So now that is where I reached by around 2021, 2022. I decided now that I've gone so deep, there is only one exit, and the exit is to go forward, which I haven't even reached the exit. So I'm still going forward, and now my head, everything is inside perfume now. So there are a lot of things that I think along the way we shall be sharing. I've discovered very many things and to me, I still think it's a good idea. It's one of the best things that I have. Yeah.
So definitely, yeah, along the way, we're going to dig deep into this journey and what you've noticed through this journey. But I like to listen when I have people on the pod. That's one thing I've learned doing this thing. I taught myself on like doing this podcast. I didn't go to a journalism school or anything. But one of the things I've been trying to learn is to listen to people when they talk. I like the things you mentioned along your journey is like posting on status. A lot of other people out there having businesses, and that's where they're at the point of like posting on WhatsApp. They don't see the outcome of that. They don't see the support, but it's like your story. You just kept going, and to see where you are right now. And that's something I was talking to Apos about on the phone. Is like we're talking about the support from our circles. Like right now, we were running the awards of Pulse for the podcast influencer of the year. Actually, since I'm talking about that, remember to vote for my podcast. It was nominated in the Pulse Awards. Thanks to everybody who is voting. We're leading, and it makes me happy. But in that process of like calling for people for support for your business, for your content, it seems like it's slow. It seems like people are not. You can feel it. Like people, they cheer you, but when you need them, they're not there. So I can understand that struggle of like posting on status, and I'm glad you don't give up. And people who are listening, this is something I want them to pick out from the story. Like we're going to talk a lot, but listen to his journey. He started from posting on WhatsApp. If that's what you're currently doing and you're not seeing that work paying off, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. We go through those days, but just don't give up. Just keep doing it. You never know what's going to happen. So I like that journey of the perfumes. Before we go into like deep conversation of perfumes, I know we're gonna focus a lot about perfumes. In my introduction, I mentioned something like a cologne and a perfume. Do you happen to know like what makes
Yes.
the difference of a cologne and a perfume?
Yes, I think that is one very important question that very many people have asked me before, and they still ask me up to this very moment. Actually, in your question, the cologne perfume, I would use another word that is very interesting, a fragrance.
Hmm.
So when you talk about the three, the difference is basically in one, if you to differentiate between a cologne and a fragrance and a perfume. So fragrances are mostly used by companies that, companies that make. So others prefer, actually, I would say even in the context of language, I think in the US, they would prefer calling it a fragrance, and in the UK may call it a perfume. So I think it's just the connotation, the difference between the two countries. But the cologne, on the other hand, it's normally used, colognes are it's more of subtle concentrations. It's like a very soft entry into the perfume world. Deeper later on, I'll be explaining this in details. But a cologne is like something that you can just refreshen up, something that is way lighter. It's like, I could say it's something that is lighter. It's an entry into the perfume. But perfume and fragrances now, it's deep. It's more deep because now you're talking about something that has concentration, and that is why when a question will come later, maybe if I think I'll have to highlight, because I'll highlight the differences later on.
Yeah, it's a lot of like confusion from people, like a cologne. And I've had some people say, oh, cologne is the one for the female, and then perfume. No, cologne is the one for the men, and then perfume is the one for the female. I've had that theory outside when people are saying that, in Uganda.
It's just a connotation, It's like people prefer. It's like US, you guys call it gas, we call it fuel.
Okay. No, yeah, that makes sense.
So here we call fuel, yes. So now it's cologne, and then others prefer to. Actually, in Italy, the word cologne comes from colonia, which is from Italy. So they prefer. Italians like to call it colonia.
Yeah.
Now in the US, it's more of a fragrance. Then in the UK, it's perfume. So it depends just with the context where you are, but they all mean the same thing.
Okay.
But just that the cologne in the fragrance world, we make it look more of like a lighter version. It's like an entry to perfumes.
Okay, that's you broke that down very well. And that reminded me, before we get deep into it, back when I was in Uganda, we like to smell good. When you're a teenager, you want all the girls to know your perfume, and it's good to smell good. It's one of it gives you a plus for those of you who are out there like trying to attract. I mean, girls like men who smell good, and men like women who smell good. Everybody likes somebody who smells good. But I remember when we were in high school, we would buy these perfumes off the street, and a lot of people are doing that in Uganda, and it's not a bad thing. But I mean, I'm not gonna say it's not a bad thing. It's because it's not a real perfume. I wanted you to highlight that there's a lot of perfumes like people buy on the streets, and some of them are mixed with water. Some of them, like, how can somebody tell a fake perfume, and what some advice do you give to somebody to find the right perfume?
Yeah, it's that is a very interesting question again, because now the question is finding a right perfume is one tall conversation that somebody must have within himself. Because one, when you want to find a right perfume, is you need to understand exactly what you're getting into. Why do you even want to have the perfume in the first place? Because most people just buy perfumes for the sake of buying perfumes. Because now I've run into some few notes here, I've run into some few coins, then you have the idea that I'm going to buy a perfume. But in reality, when you want to buy a perfume, there are questions you need to ask yourself. One of the questions that you need to ask yourself is, why am I buying this perfume? Because in the context I sit is, you ask yourself question is, are you buying a perfume for the office? Are you buying a perfume for the club? Are you buying a perfume for the gym? Are you buying a perfume, a one-night stand perfume? Are you buying a perfume for a date?
Yeah.
So once you understand the reason why you're buying a fragrance, because I'll tell you later that sometimes the fragrances are influenced by the occasion where I'm going. So you need to understand that when you're buying a perfume, what is the motivation between buying the perfumes? Are you buying it because you just want to smell good? Are you buying because you're stepping out? Because we have perfumes for the club. We have perfumes for the office. We have perfumes for the gym. We have perfumes that you can wear on a date. So when you're buying these fragrances, when you identify the real reason behind it, then you can now say, okay, fine, I'm settling for this fragrance because I'm going for a date. I've had situations where maybe sometimes you're preparing for a date and you just want that perfume that would speak loud, that perfume that, very, it's, like one perfume, I call it a one night stand perfume that you want to leave a trace behind, So that one perfume that I would wear for that special moment. Now I have such kind of perfumes as well. So when you a question that again you brought in is about knowing how it's fake and how it's original, because what I realized, actually use a very good analogy where you said sometimes people run downtown and they find adulterated fragrances. Now, what is happening is sometimes because of budget constraints, and somebody would really want to own a fragrance, but because he cannot match up with the real thing, he's targeting now, what I can do is let me just walk out and buy something that can fit within my budget. But the truth is, a lot of perfumes, especially the designer perfumes, are adulterated, and most of them you'll find the content is really they water down. Actually, the word we use is to water down.
Right.
So what happens is when they water down a fragrance is, for example, if the perfume comes in a concentration of about 30%, what people do is they pick up the scent and then they add purities that can, like if it's 30%, they will split it into about 6. So they'll have about 5, and then the 5 they will top up with purities to make sure that they have 100 ml. So you find the perfume is watered down and then it becomes a little bit cheaper. And this is the beginning of now having very many dupe perfumes that smell almost the same, but in reality, they are fake perfumes. So there are very many ways you can tell if these fragrances are original or if they're fake. One of the easiest ways I tell people is to use a barcode scanner. You just download a barcode scanner or a serial code scanner. You download it on the phone. And normally, in most perfumes, you find they have a barcode scanning behind the. I wish I had my bottle here. I would show you, but I don't have the box. So in the box, you'll find there's a serial behind it. So when you have your phone, you can scan. So when you scan, normally it's supposed to take you directly to the source where the perfume. So it will bring for you. It will authenticate, and it will show you exactly the image should appear as exactly from the one that you're purchasing. That is one way. And then also you have what you call cosmetic check scanner. Now this one goes even further because it goes beyond even just scanning, but even tells you the batch code. It tells even which country the perfume is made. So whenever you buy a perfume, always check for the two things. There's always a serial and a Q code. So you can scan both. One is used for the cosmetic check scanner, which gives more details. And then one, you can just scan. So it's very rare for a fake perfume to pass the test of the two. Rare, they can pass one, but they would fail to pass the other one, especially with the batch code scanning. That one tells even which country, which batch number, which year. So in most cases, they fail to get this.
Yeah.
Now, the third thing you can check is sometimes when you buy these fragrances, there's always a small difference between the original bottle. And so you have to be very careful when you're buying. For example, and let me just demonstrate with this perfume. For example, this is Creed. So normally you would just want to check. You'd want to check the top, check even the wordings, check below. You'll find in most cases the fragrances that are duped, they tend to have a difference. There's always a slight difference between the real bottle and the fake bottle. But you can also establish the real bottle by going through the main website. For example, if it's Creed, go to the Creed website, download the image, then come back to the perfume that you've bought. You'll find the way the Creed is written is totally different. You'll check even the labels is different. The emblem is different. Something must be different.
Right.
Another sophisticated way, but I didn't come with my scale, is also we have a scale that you can measure the real bottle and the fake bottle. So normally we know when through the website you can check, for example, how many grams does Creed weigh, so you can put the real bottle and the fake bottle. So there's always a difference, but in most cases it's always the cap. Like for example, if we are doing most Christian Dior fragrances, for example, I have here the boys, they always have a magnetic.
Okay.
They have that magnetic type. So with the fake fragrances, again, you may find that magnetic vibe is not there, I see you're trying to check in. So that is also another way you can also tell. And also another way, which to be just sure of these fragrances, you just make sure you buy from the right stores,
Right.
so that you save yourself. And also you sometimes, I have a situation whereby, you find somebody coming and telling, how come you're selling this fragrance at this price and somebody is selling this price? With the internet, I believe you can get a lot of information. Through the website, it can give you an indication of exactly what you're getting for. For example, if you go to the Creed website, you find it is about $350. Within that context, you can now start imagining. You look upwards. You can never look lower, because I don't think somebody in the right mind can buy something below the cost price of the main official website. So I think that is also one good indicator that maybe you're also headed to. But finally, and I would say, just go to the right stores that sell the right perfumes.
And that's a warning. A lot of people in Uganda, we like cheap stuff. You just mentioned it when you're finishing that statement. Like, you find somebody's selling it for 320. You're like, oh yeah, Sarah, I'll go to the other guy who will give it to me on 100. But in real sense, like, if you Google that, and I'm glad you brought Google, like, look it up. How much does it cost? How much is it selling to me? There's something wrong. If on internet it's $300 and this person is asking you $100, there's something wrong somewhere.
Yeah.
Unless he's broke and he just needs money to bail him out, then you can buy it. That's legit. But Kenneth, when you're talking to us, when you're talking to the people, you were well educated about perfume. I like that. I like somebody who sells something and they're knowledgeable about that. And this question just came up. I didn't write down, but is this something you went to school for, or how did you build your knowledge on perfumes? I know we do research and stuff, but I just wanted to know, like, if somebody out there is looking up to you, how you got this knowledge of perfumes. Did you go to school for this, or?
Yes, actually, I really wanted, just like I told you in the beginning, this is something that I'm so passionate about. I didn't mention this, but I have other things that I do to also earn a living. I am a consultant. I write proposal for companies. I do consultancies. I do capacity building. That is also one of the things that I do. I've trained for now. I'm also a lecturer, part-time lecturer. So that is what I do, like, on the other side. But when it comes to fragrances, I really needed to tap in and totally understand what is this that I'm missing. There must be something that I was missing. I didn't want to stay average. So I've done a diploma in perfumery. And then I've also I have a master's in scentology. So I've even written a book, which I think it's here later on. Maybe I'll be sharing a detail about it. So this is my entire book, which I call it the Perfume Plus 101, the Ultimate Guide. So this is basically like volume 1, where it just talks about the few basic things that somebody needs to understand before getting into the perfume world. So I've gone to school. Some of these things is as a result of school. So it's not a gamble. What I'm saying, like, this is what I submitted for my thesis. As you can see behind, this is me suited up. So I used the model as well in the front cover. So I submitted this for the master's. So I know it so well what I'm talking about.
That is amazing.
Yes.
And I'm excited for this episode.
Yes.
This episode, it's different. It's a unique one because here we're getting educated. Even me, myself, like, I'm getting schooled, not in a bad way, but this is somebody who is out there, like, he's passionate for what he does. And I'm passionate for my podcast. And I'm excited because you and I are getting to learn something. If you thought you knew about perfumes, today you're going to learn something better about that. In depth of these perfumes, I also know that there's preferences of all perfumes to the common designer perfumes. Can you elaborate on that, like the preference of the oils to the common designer perfumes?
Yes, that is It's a very broad perspective that has come up in the recent times, especially in the modern era. Now you're seeing the contemporary people are more lenient towards the oil side. But Bonnie, the oil and the perfume, there's quite a big difference. But the difference is as big as day and night, but at the same time, it's as slim as a needle.
Yeah.
So what happens is with the oil is every perfume must have oil. There is no perfume that doesn't have oil, because oil is that adhesive that helps clog up the perfume. It's that adhesive that holds up the bottle. It's that adhesive. It's like carbon monoxide in Coca-Cola. Without it, the Coke is flat. So as a preservative, they use the oil. That is why later on, when we talk about the differences between EDT, I think that question will come up. I will explain more in that. But the preferences of oil is because the contemporary people want to go for something that is affordable. Now, oils are more affordable because oils don't have additives. Perfumes have additives. When I talk about the additives, I'm talking about the notes. So notes are the ingredients that make a perfume. Now, notes range from a very wide. We could talk about ambroxine, we could talk about sandalwood, we could talk about citrus, we could talk about roses, we could talk about licorice. So these are the things, the notes that they use to build up a formation of a perfume, because it's a combination of very many notes. Now you have as a perfume nose. A perfume nose is a person who is trusted with the capacity to go and make a fragrance. For example, Chanel will say, we need a perfume that is a little bit soft. We need a perfume that is aquatic, with more blue. So can we identify a nose who can make us something like this? So when the noses are making perfumes, they base on the notes of the fragrances. I talked about the sandalwood. I talked about the woodiness. I talked about the vetiver. All these things make up a perfume. Now, oils, on the other side, they are flat. Oils, they are flat because oils don't have a transition. The moment you buy an oil perfume, and you actually, you cannot even spray an oil perfume because they're too heavy. So normally they just apply like on the skin. So they are linear. They don't change. They don't have a history. They don't have a trajectory. They don't have like, a perfume is supposed to go through stages. From what you call the opening notes, which have what you call the heart notes, and then we have what you call the dry down. So when you talk about the opening notes, are the 5 minutes, when you just get a perfume and the first spray that, you spray in the first 5 minutes and you feel the perfume, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now. Now that is called the opening notes, that normally lasts between 5 to 6 minutes at most. Then after that, the perfume goes to the second stage, which we call the heart notes. So the heart notes, or the middle notes, it's where now the perfume starts settling down on your skin. Now, when the perfume starts settling down, we call it the middle notes or the heart notes. So you'll find that if the perfume was starting maybe with an opening of ambroxine, or maybe it was starting up when it's a little bit acidic or citrus more. Now you find the perfume starts settling down and it's more yummy, Now that is the heart note. And then we have finally what we call the dry down. So the dry down is when the perfume has matured. Now, when the perfume mature, we call that state the dry down. So the dry down happens when the perfume finally gets its stage of maturity. In the dry down is where now you are able to identify that, okay, fine, this is so much of vanilla, this is so much woody, this is honey, this is sweet, this is roses, that is the heart note. Now, all this journey I'm talking about, it can never be experienced with an oil perfume.
Yeah.
If you've noted, when you spray an oil perfume from the beginning to the end, it will smell the same. There is no transition. It's the same thing. So they are very basic. Now, two, the oil perfumes are very cheap. It's one thing that you can go, they can put in measurements, you have those small tins, they can add in. So they're always between here, we sell them between 10,000, 5, 10, 20, like that. So for a common person, it's more easier because remember, some of these oils smell almost like the perfumes, but it's just that they have a dry, they are just straight. They don't have like transition. So somebody would prefer rather than spending about $100, $200 on a fragrance, you would rather go to buy something that is cheaper. So the premise in which people buy these fragrances is just based on economy.
Yeah.
It's like economy is like we are just buying it because we don't have money. So let's find something. But the honest truth is, if given chance, I'm yet to see somebody who's comfortable with an oil perfume.
Yeah.
They always want the real perfume. So I think it's just a question of economy and financial constraint that makes it easier. They're more easily available. You can pick them in the quantities that you want as opposed to fragrances.
No, yeah, you broke that down very well. And again, I remind the listeners, like, this is deep. Like, this is a different kind of podcast, which it requires you to have the same passion. And if you want to learn about perfumes, I know a lot of people. I have a lot of friends who are into perfumes. Even you've used perfumes for your life. I've used them for my life. And this next question is, I'm going to ask it for myself and 10 other people out there. You've talked about spraying perfumes. What is the right way of spraying perfume? I've used perfume for a long time, but I know there's a million people out there like me. And if you're judging me, just laugh on your own, because here we're going to learn what is the best way to use a perfume. So I'm going to embarrass myself on the podcast. I'm the kind of person who grew up spraying it on my clothes.
Who you're allowed to.
Yeah. I'm the kind of person who's just sprayed on my clothes. But I saw somewhere that that's wrong. But now that I got you, you're going to help us. How is the best way to spray a perfume?
Thank you so much for this question. I think this is one question that ponders around so much, and people, I think, for a long time, they totally don't understand. But the makers of these fragrances made them for our bodies, not clothes. So one of the mistakes I think we shall share later on in details is, one of the mistakes that we do is perfumes, first of all, they are not sprayed on clothes. Perfumes are supposed to be worn on the body. And I'll give you a reason why. The perfumes, like I talked about the transition from the opening notes to the dry down, is supposed to settle within your skin. Because the skin has a point of perspiration. And when the body chemistry reacts to the perfume, there is a way. That is why you'll find like you could have the same perfume, but two of you are spraying the same perfumes, but one is smelling better. I'm pretty sure you've had a situation where you have the same perfume, but it works for you, but it doesn't work for someone else. So the reason why is the body chemistries and our body odor are designed in such a way to bring out perspiration that interact and interplays. Your allergens, the body allergens, are supposed to interact and interplay with the perfumes. So when the two interact together, then they give a projection. Like we talk about it later, there's what we call a projection, there's what we call a sillage, and then there's what we call a longevity. So when you want a good projection to come out, it's advisable that you wear your perfume on the skin. Now, when you wear the skin, you give your body a chance to react, to interplay with your allergens, to give out the best scent that you'd really want out. And well, it can be argued out that you can still wear it on your clothes, but personally I feel like the best way is to wear it on the skin. And then even then, as you're wearing on the skin, I think I have the concentration points where I insist that sometimes it's good, if you want your perfume to really give out the best, there are spots that you're supposed to wear the fragrance, not just every part of the body, because you may end up even spraying behind things you're not supposed. I've seen a situation where somebody sprayed in the back, which is funny. So we have 5. I advocate for 5 spots. One of the spots that I really would love, Bonnie, next time I want you to try this magic, because for the viewers who are watching, the 5 spots that I really advocate for is 1 behind one ear. Then you can do it on the second ear, behind and I'll tell you why. Then you see in the chin down here, you can do here. Then behind here, you can do. And then if you see this, the in between the arm, yes, so you can spray there, especially if you're doing the short sleeve like you, it's very good. Now, the reason why we do those spots is 1, and I want you to listen to this very carefully, is because the essence of wearing a fragrance is to have what you call a sillage. Now, a sillage is that scent trail that you leave behind. Have you had a situation, oh, Bonnie was just here, this Bonnie was here, but you're not there, but your scent is speaking on your behalf. Now that is called a siege. And then you have what you call a projection. Now a projection is where you're seated where you are, but I can feel you from where I am. They are different. I want you to understand. A siege is you've left, but there's that central behind. That is a siege. But a projection is you're seated somewhere, but I can feel you from there. Now, when it comes to these spots that you're spraying, now we'll dissect them from two perspectives: the projection and the siege. Now, the reason you spray behind the two ears is because, assuming you're walking into a room and there's fresh air coming behind you, so you assume the fresh air will hit your ears and the person in front of you will feel it. Now, if there's someone behind you and the fresh air is coming from front, it can come, hit your chin, and it leaves somebody behind. Now, that is the real. And the reason why you put them in the arms is because, like I told you, the concentration and the allergens of the body. So as you're walking, remember, you keep on holding,
Opening.
unlocking, opening. So when you unlock, you let the perfume out. When you close the perfume. So as you're walking, it keeps. So that is the essence of enjoying the fragrances. And then even as if you will still insist, because of people who are so hyper, they really want to go so deep and they want to spray it on clothes. It's not so bad. I hold my opinions to myself, but you can still do it. But even when you're spraying to yourself, don't make a mistake of spraying the perfume next to you. Always give it a distance, like far distance, you see. The reason why you do that is because most perfumes, actually, if not all, they have oils. You can stain your clothes. So when you do it from far, you give the projection a chance to occupy the whole entire. But the 5 spots I've mentioned, I think those are the key areas, and I think I've justified to you very well. Now you understand totally why the 5 spots matter. And when you spray that, I'm pretty sure you'll see even the longevity of the fragrance, and you'll see an impact. The reason why I don't like a perfume being worn on the shirts is because the shirt is baseless. You deny the perfume an opportunity to interact, to interplay with your skin, with your allergens, to give out the projection that you want. The skin will give you that, but the shirt will not give you that. I think we are clear on that.
Man. I keep reminding the listeners who are tuning in, like, man, this is deep. This is deep. And that is really good. And the way you explain all that on how to apply the perfume, definitely it's going to change my life. And I think it's going to change a lot of other people's lives out there. And this is something new to me because, And the other thing I noticed, like, you might not have said it, but like I feel like some perfumes will stain your clothes depending on what color of clothes you're wearing. If you spray them there, because I've had that happen to my shirts. Like if you spray them direct on your shirt, it will create a spot and that thing will not go away.
Yes.
So good.
So you just use the technique of spraying from a distance to make sure that you don't have that.
Earlier on, when you were explaining the all perfumes, you touched on something called EDT or EDP. Do you mind telling us what that means and what's the difference between the EDT and EDP perfumes?
Bonnie, that is a very interesting question. I think you got to mention it because there have been a lot of drama. There's been a lot of talks about EDT, EDP. Today, I think, let me air out this for the listeners out there, because some of the choices that you make when you're buying fragrances depends on that EDT, EDP, as you call it. So basically, EDT is an abbreviation of a word which is eau de toilette. So it's a French word which is eau de toilette, and then EDP is an abbreviation of eau de parfum. So check your bottle very well. They must be indicated there. There's an EDT, EDP. So when it comes to fragrances...
Let me pause you for a quick second, actually. It's funny because both of my perfumes that I have here, you talk about a French word, EDP. The one I currently use is called a Mistral. Is a bourbon vanilla. And down here it says EAU de Perfumes. That's EDP.
Yes.
And then the EDP, one I used previously, it's a Canon Nordic Elements Earth. It says EDT, which is EO de Toilette. Yeah. That's
Eau de Toilette.
That's crazy. I didn't even know what that means, and I had one of those.
It's good that you have the two bottles because I'll use you as what? I'll use your two bottles to explain to the audiences right here because now it doesn't just stop there, unfortunately. No, fortunately. It goes beyond the EDT and EDP. But I'll start and break it I'll do the break from the first to the last one. So the whole interplay is about the concentration. And the concentration is about the oil concentration. So the oil concentration is what determines the EDT, the EDP. So when it comes to fragrances, actually the first one is called Eau de Cologne. That is the first one. Stroke the Eau Fraîcheur. So the Eau Fraîcheur and Eau de Cologne is always a concentration of between 0 to 7% of oil concentration. Like I mentioned before, that every perfume must have oil in it because it's what holds the perfume. Then we have after the Eau de Toilette, after the Eau de Cologne, we have the Eau de Fraîcheur. Then we have the EDT, the one you have, the Eau de Toilette, which is always a concentration between 10 to 12%. Then you go to EDP, which is the Eau de Parfum. So Eau de Parfum is a concentration between 18 to 25, but doesn't stop there because I think most people have the basis of the EDT and EDP. There is the next one, which is called Parfum. It's just Parfum. So Parfum is always between an oil concentration between 25 to 30. Then after Parfum, we have what we call Eau de Parfum Extrait. So Eau de Parfum Extrait is now a concentration between 30 to 35 to 38 there. Then after that, I think the Extract de Parfum is the last one. So Extract de Parfum is that concentration that is really high. So when you're making, the reason why I took my time to tell you the differences in terms of oil concentration is because they play a very significant roles in terms of performance. So when you're buying a fragrance that is more long lasting, go for the higher oil concentration. Go for the EDP. I'm pretty sure the two of them, you must have noticed that the EDP lasts longer than the EDT.
Yep.
Basing on what you have.
Yeah.
Yes, because they are more stronger. So the Eau de Toilette is made for people who don't want to have a very strong. People who say, no, perfumes gives me headache, Someone who likes, people love perfumes differently. There are those ones who love very loud, strong perfumes, and then there are people who love subtle fragrances. So you could find the same perfume, but because the maker wants to enjoy economies of scale, he decides to do market differentiation and decides to make an EDT, an EDP, and an EDP extract. I wish I carried my bottles. I would have shown you because I have all this. So concentration is what matters. So the higher the oil concentration, the longer the longevity of the perfume. That is definitely. So when you're buying a fragrance that is EDT, it's a lower concentration. Just know the performance is most likely to be lesser than an EDP. So if you're given two fragrances that look alike, and there's an EDT and there's an EDP, always go for an EDP or an Parfum or the Extract de Parfum because those ones will last longer. But there's a small contradiction which I would want you to pay a little bit of attention here is because one, it does not necessarily mean that an EDT is a weak performer. Not all EDTs are weak performer. I'll go back to my earlier explanations when I talk about the notes. So the point is, when you're confronted with a perfume, the same perfume that has the same, for example, you mentioned you're using, what is the name of the other perfume? The EDT one?
The EDT is it's a Canon. It says Canon and then Nordic elements. Nordic elements.
Yes. So for example, if you're confronted with Canon perfume, and there's an EDT and there's an EDP, always go for the EDP because it's going to last longer than the EDT.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can find an EDT that is lasting longer than an EDP, but of different notes. I hope you're getting here. If you find, for example, vanilla, because most vanilla scents are very long lasting, and they will find they will try to make sure that. Yes, so you'd find sometimes that you find a perfume that is still EDT but is very long lasting. Then it technically means that they use notes that are very long lasting. So the only argument that can pass is if you have the same perfume but EDT and EDP, then you go for the EDP if you have a long lasting. But if the notes are different, then it's a little bit debatable. That one now you need to understand, are these notes long lasting or they're notes? But preferably to be on the safe side, settle for the EDP.
I think
I think that is what
I
is
am
good.
going to actually agree with what you just said, because since I have the
Yes.
EDT and EDP, I can tell you I've lasted
Yes.
longer with my EDP, the vanilla one, than I did with the
Yes.
other one.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to
Because the other one is so light.
it's crazy to think about these things, because I was using it and I noticed the difference, but I
Yeah.
could not put it to mind because I
Mm.
don't know how to explain it. And like for me, this is
Yes.
like a big deal, especially because I love perfumes. I do love perfumes, and I'm always
No,
somebody
it's very
who
important.
wants to discover more about perfume.
Yes.
And now you just opened my mind.
Mm.
So next time, actually, if I'm in
Mm.
Uganda, I'll stop by your shop and try to find myself a
Yeah.
perfume. But also it's at this
Yes.
point that I'm asking my listeners, those who are in Uganda or who are in the diaspora, but you often go back to Uganda. The only thing we can pay Kenneth is just going by his shop and purchase a perfume, because I know he's gonna get you right and you're gonna get exactly what you need, because from his explanation, he's not trying to sell you something bad for you. He's gonna actually help you get what's good for you. On that very note, I wanted you to
Yeah.
remind my listeners of where your Perfume Plus is located and where they can find it.
So Perfume Plus, we have two branches. We have one at Arena Mall, Unit 9. And then we also have one at Kampala Boulevard, Shop B18.
Okay.
So when you come to town, go to Kampala Boulevard, or you can go to Arena Mall, Unit 9.
Yeah, this is a deep conversation. We're actually already like in like almost 50 minutes, but we still have a few things to cover here, and we want to get you right. So just settle in, enjoy the conversation. And so we also talk about the entry of the Arab perfumes. Like, I don't know much about the Arab perfumes, but like the question that it poses on the designer perfumes, like, are those two different perfumes? And you tell us more about the Arab perfumes, and do they even pose a threat to designer sense? Take us into that.
That is absolutely a conversation that we must have in this context, because when you look at the entry of Arab perfumes, I think there's more hype within the Arab perfumes. There's too much stories about Arab perfumes. There's too much that is being said a lot about Arab perfumes. And if you look at it in the beginning, and if you look at it historically, I think one thing that you must note is the origin of perfumes is right from Egypt. The Arabs were one of the first inventors of perfumes because they used them for reservations of the dead. That was the origin of perfume. So it's one thing to play semantics between, okay, fine, who's the beginner, why Arabs are taking over. No, Arabs are not taking over. Arabs have been there. They have been there. They are the initiators of perfumes in the whole world. But now there's a question that is coming in. Like the question you brought it forward, like, do they pose a threat to the designer perfumes? First of all, I want to give credit where it's due, because if you're working on the context where you look at yourself from the financial constraints, I think Arab perfumes would give you that chance to entertain yourself, chance to find something that can work within what you have in the budget, because most of them are cheap and they're not expensive as a designer. Two, Arabic fragrances are more longer lasting than the designer. Not all, but technically speaking, if they share the same notes, you'd find like Arabic perfumes are more stronger more longer lasting than the designer fragrances. And even the accessibilities of them, they find they're more easily accessible. But contrary to the other designer side, we could look at designer side from the quality which they present, The designer fragrances present a lot of quality in them, They have gone through a lot of KPIs. They've been taken through procedures, SOPs. They don't defy the common, understanding of what a perfume should be. Because one thing that you realize, if you realize that some of the disadvantage of Arabic fragrances is they pose a threat to the skin. That is why some people complain of irritation. Two, they have not been given time they have not properly gone through a procedure. So when I look at the two debates, I think I think there is going to be a little bit of a disruption.
Yeah.
There's like a disruption to the Arab world has brought a lot of disruption to the perfumes, but as I still say, they lack identity. I'm sorry to say so, because most of them you'll find they tell you this one smells like Creed Aventus, this one smells like the Joe Malone, this one smells like so they lack identity. And I can tell you, Bonnie, a Rolex watch will remain a Rolex watch. You can wear your copy, but within yourself, you understand, no, this is outrightly not right,
Yeah.
So you may pass by, but somebody who's wearing a Rolex will always be a Rolex person. So when it comes even to these fragrances, most of the Arabic perfumes don't have a unique identifier. They rely on the designer because they tap on them and they carry the scent and they go and make it synthetic. That is why 99% of Arabic perfumes are synthetic. But when you look at the designer perfumes, okay, they are a little bit of synthetic, but they weigh more towards organic scent. And a good scent that will not have issues with you health-wise is always an organic fragrance. So always go, even when you're buying a perfume, go for more organic than more synthetic. Though they possess both qualities, but Arabic fragrances are more synthetic. And that is why they have irritations, they bring headache, And then those are one of the disadvantages. 3, they lack totally. There is no identity. It's copy and paste. But you see, you cannot copy. That is intellectual theft, You cannot steal someone's idea and expect to, I know this conversation is not really good, but from where I sit from, I don't believe like it's right for me to copy someone's idea and use it to earn money. And that is where the Arab perfumes, because if you look at most Arabic perfumes, I can tell you, Bonnie, like 90%, 99%, if you ask them which one, how does it smell, they always have a reference. This one smells like, Dior Sauvage, this one smells like Bulgari, this one smells like Creed Aventus. But we want a conversation where we can ask questions. Can you tell us what you've brought forward?
Yeah.
So when it comes to this, for now, they will bring issues and, they'll disrupt the normal procedure, but I don't think they'll last long, to be honest. I think the hype is going to be there for some time, a year, 2, 3. But again, people will get tired. It's just like in the beginning, how many people wear fake Rolex watches? But when they came out, me and you agree that I was even one of them.
Yeah.
But now I'd rather not having than embarrass myself.
Right.
So I find ourselves that in the near future, this is where we are going to be. So I don't think temporarily they'll disrupt the market, but in the long run, they may be kicked out by themselves. They will not hold that market for too long.
Yeah. No, again, I appreciate that very much, because I think after this, we're going to have a better understanding of perfumes, and Kenneth is here to just help you, get you straight, get you better. Next time you're going to buy a perfume, you know what to look for, you know what you want, you know what you need. It's not just a matter of seeing a bottle of perfume and just buy, you know what you look for. The other question I wanted to impose here, do you mix your own perfumes, or how do you get your perfumes that you sell?
Yeah, so as I'm not yet there yet, because for right now I'm more into. There's one thing that I didn't talk about. I think I didn't talk about the niche perfumes, but I'm more into the designer fragrances, which includes the houses of Chanel. When I talk about designer, I'm talking about houses like Chanel, Versace, Bulgari, the CK. The Lancome. That is what I'm talking about. And then the niche side, I have like few that I'll show you maybe later on in the conversation. So I'm more into that side. But what is happening is we are already in the process of setting up our own fragrances, which there'll be 3 of them. We'll have, actually, the name is simple. The perfume will be called the Perfume Plus.
Okay.
So we'll have the Perfume Plus for men. We'll have the Perfume Plus for women, and then we'll have a unisex. So right now we are still collecting data, which we are going to use, because we have like 4 different ideas that we put up together that we're trying out in the market. So we have a team that is doing research. So once we once we find that this is the more likable, so we are most likely to have that fragrance introduced. This is something we are looking at next year. Probably we should have perfume of our own. So when you come, you just say, I want to buy Perfume Plus for men. I want to buy Perfume Plus for women. Oh, I want a unisex so I can use with a man and a woman. So they're just going to be 3 for a start. So that is where we are heading to. But right now, we are still just doing the design and the initial.
Okay, no, that's definitely amazing. And I'm gonna ask you about your top 10 perfume for men and women. But before you tell me that, let's go. You earlier you showed us a book and you wrote the book. What pursued you to put these things in writing? That you basically, and I'm sure some of the stuff you talked about here, there in the writing, like, but, and you say that was your thesis from school, but like, what pushed you to put that in writing for people? Maybe what you looked at when you're writing the book.
Yes. So when I started to dig deep about the book, actually the book is here. Yeah. So when I started to dig deep about the perfumes, I started realizing that there are a lot of gaps that we had in terms of our usage of perfumes, our understanding of perfumes, So somehow I developed an idea like, why don't I also share this with people? Because I believe there are people who are more interested into also learning and understanding these things. And then I realized, why don't I document these beautiful ideas that I have, rather than having them and leaving no legacy behind? Because you cannot rely on rumors. Let me be the first person, maybe in Uganda. I don't know if someone has ever written, but in my understanding, I think I'm one of the first people who've wrote about it. So I said, let me be the first Ugandan who's documenting something that has not been heard before. So I had to do a lot of vigorous reading. I had to go back to the history. Actually, what I'm telling you is not even it's not even a quarter of what is in the book, Yeah, because down when you go in the book, I talk a lot about there's history. I talk about the history of perfumes right from behind. We talk about what does a perfume mean. We talk about the ingredients of our perfumes. We talk about the concentration I was talking about, the dry downs I was talking about. We talk about the common mistakes, which I think you should ask me that question. We talk about the perfume glossary. And this is where it gets even more interesting, because for you to understand, there are people who have deep understanding when it comes to perfumes. And I've had these situations before, through reviews, through YouTube, somebody would come and say, for example, I want a perfume that has amber, a perfume that is animalic, a perfume that has agarwood, So you must understand what is the agarwood, what is altar, what are the ray rams, benzoin, bergamot, So most of these things have explained in the book. So the book basically was it's passion. I would say Bonnie is not even about money. It's passion, because it's about leaving a legacy behind. It can be an academic injustice if I am one of the scholars and I cannot document my own discoveries. Of course, this is volume 1. Volume 2 is going to be more interesting, because there are a lot of research I'm still doing, which I will not want to mention here. For purposes to protect my intellectual capacity. So, but it will feature in the next, it's going to feature in the next year. I don't want somebody to listen and run away with it, but I've made a lot of discoveries. I've invested heavily on research, and I think the next volume will be more interesting, but this is just I call it Perfume Plus 101 is an introduction to perfumes. So people who want to understand basic things I'm talking about now, they can totally get it in the book. So the book has been I've not officially launched it yet, because I'm preparing to do, and actually you should get a copy. I think I'll send you one. If you pass by, I'll keep for you a copy.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's going to be very interesting. Yes. So this one is going to help my people understand more. For those who can buy it, they can get to understand a lot of things. And even for people who are new into the fragrance world, people who want to start the fragrance journey, even the people who want to start perfume business, I think the book will be so much of help to them, because at least they'll have some conversation they can hold with the clients. So that was the inspiration and motivation behind the book.
I feel like somebody who has been listening to us from the beginning to this point and listening to you, they can really feel and they can see the passion and dedication you have into this perfume world, and what you've invested in it, and what it means to you, and what it means to youth to other people, like when somebody gets something right. And if anybody out there that is more interested in just what Kenneth talked about here today, he has the book and he will give you more information on that when you reach out to their social media or their website about how to get a book. I'm excited to get mine. I'm actually going to come to your. I'll come to your shop next month. I'll come
I
get it.
appreciate it. Yes.
And get me a perfume too. I'll come get one.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
So we have a few questions left on the perfume topic, but you have like
Yes.
a top 10 list perfumes for men and top 10 list perfume for women. And I think these are not your personal top 10 because I'm going to ask you your personal top 10. Because what is the
Yeah.
top 10
Yeah.
perfume for men and the top 10 perfume for women? And later on, you're going to tell me what's your top 10
Yeah.
and you show them to us because I believe you came with some.
Yes. Yes. So I think I'll start with the ladies because they say ladies first. You know?
Okay. Yeah.
So, so I'll go with the top 10. So if the ladies are listening out there, and some of the most interesting top 10 fragrances that a woman would need to own in her collection, I'll start with, I'll not go to very expensive, but I'll run something that is a little bit fair, budget friendly, but something that is good. So I'll go with the top 10 fragrances for women. I think number one, let me do, I want to start it from number 10
Okay. Start from
to
10.
number one. Yeah, so that it makes it very interesting. So the top 10 fragrances I would recommend for a woman. Number 10, I'll go John Paul Gaultier, Scandal. Number 8,
Oh.
YSL, Yves Saint Laurent, Libra. Number 7, Valentino, Born in Roma, Intense. Number 6, Versace, Crystal Noir. Number 5, La Vie est Belle, Lancôme. Number 4, I would go for, now this is where the competition starts in. Number 4, I would go for now. Okay, number 4, let me go with I'll go with let me pick. Now this is where the problem is because now I have top 5 and so 4 I would go for, let me give them Good Girl Carolina Herrera. Number 3, I'll give them Portrait of a Lady by Dominic Ropion. Number 2, Delina, Parfums de Mali. And number 1, MFK, Maison Francais Baccarat Rouge. That is my top 10 for women.
What is the price of MFK? That's the only one I'm going to ask.
MFK is quite costly. It's about 1.8 million. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Did you say 9? I don't know. Did you say 9
Pardon?
or did you skip 9?
No, I did say 9.
Okay.
9, I think I gave, yeah.
Okay. I was just making sure. All right. Now we go to the top 10 for the men.
Yes. So the top 10 for men, I would start with number 10. I'll give them Mancera, the Instant Crush. It's unisex, but I'll pose it to the men. Number 9, I'll give them the Versace Eros. It's a good fragrance for the club. Number 7, I'll give them Stronger With You by Giorgio Armani, Intensely. Very versatile fragrance. Number 6, I'll give them Mont Blanc Explorer. Very versatile for every day, any day, anywhere. Number 5, I'll give them John Paul Gaultier, Le Mal. Very good again. Number 4, I would give them Dior Sauvage, the EDP. Number 3, I'd give them Chanel, Bleu de Chanel. It's a very good clean office. Number 2, I'll give them Creed Aventus. And my number 1 fragrance that I would like men to have, if at all they have the time to buy, is Judge of Naxos.
How much is Judge of Naxos?
About 1.8 again.
1.8 again. So
Yes.
no, let me first finish with your top 10. I'll say that whatever I'm gonna say. So now that was a general. I don't know how you're
Yes.
gonna do it though, like picking the top 10 for general and your top 10. So now I want to hear your top 10 perfumes.
Yes, and actually, it's good that I came with them.
Okay.
I have a lot of fragrances. I think they run up to in their hundreds.
Okay.
So it's unfair for others, but because I'm limited to 10, it doesn't mean that others are not good. But because you've tied my hands to 10, so I think I'll go with my top 10. And these are my personal preferences. I'm not paid to say so. It's just that I attach value to them. So my number 10 is Roger Elysium. This is my top 10, Roger Elysium. My number 9, and it's actually the perfume that I'm wearing today.
Okay.
It's called Santal Royal. I like it so much. I'm pretty sure your team here is really interested to even have a pinch of it, but it's very interesting. So that is my number 9. My number 8. You need to get this for yourself.
Okay.
This one is called it's by Penhaligon House. It's called The Tragedy of Lord George. I have a very good history about this. Maybe one day you ask me why it's called Tragedy of Lord George, but I'll break it in brief. So Lord George is basically used to be a king in the UK back then. So he had very nice garden of flowers, and then he committed suicide. And there's debate about his death. So he was found in his where he used to have a good garden. So the roses that were there is what they picked them up and they made a perfume which is called the Lord George. So I like the Tragedy of Lord George. I don't like it because of the history, but I like it because it's more potent. You can even see the type. It gives me the good vibes. It's more potent. It's more masculine. You speak like the boss in the house. So this will come as my number. It comes as my number 7. So I'll go to my number 6. It's called Pegasus by Perfumes de Mali. It's more animalic. Animalic is a good scent that taps up, but its projection is very good. You more animalic. You feel like it's like steel. A man of steel. The Pegasus. That is my number 6. I think it's 6. My number 5 is Creed. By this time, the Royal Oud Milici. Bonnie, look for this perfume. Unfortunately, it was discontinued. But if you can find this perfume, kindly go and get it. I don't want to say anything about it, but it's worth the money. Expensive, but it's worth the money. It comes to number 4. I go with Sedley. Still, Perfumes de Mali. So Sedley is a nice scent. It's more clean. It's not like a summer. Like you guys in summer, if you want something that is very potent for summer, Sedley is the perfume to go. It's very clean. So I wear this especially when I'm wearing suits, when I'm getting into environments where people are clean, they don't want something disruption. This speaks volume for itself. My number 3 is Christian Dior. But this time, the Bois de Jante. You can actually see I have a very big bottle. Yeah, it's a 250 ml. That just shows you the love that I have for it. So this is more vanilla. It's more vanilla. It's a compliment magnet. It's one perfume that I've never worn it and missed a compliment. So if I'm psyched up, I have some small money in my pocket, I'm stepping out, this acts like that clubbing fragrance for me. And then I'll go to my second fragrance. Do I need to talk about it? The Creed Aventus. The real Creed Aventus now. Yes. So this is one fragrance that I would never stop wearing. The year is 1760. But up to now, you can see how many days and how many years have gone.
Yeah.
But Creed Aventa still remains one of the freshest. This is the most duplicated perfumes. This is the most perfume that Arabs have really done injustice to him. Sometimes I really feel so sad that I can walk in when I'm smelling the Creed Aventas, and you walk in and you find too many dupes. So people can't even start differentiating you who's wearing a Creed Aventas and one who's wearing one called Club de Nuit. So this is always my second best perfume. And my number one perfume, and number one keeps on changing, but as at the moment, my number one, it's called Imagination by Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton Imagination. It costs some bucks. You can figure it out. You are there, Bonnie. I think this is one fragrance. You'll break heads when you wear it. This is one fragrance that is clean.
Yeah.
This is a magnet. This is a head turner. Very clean. You can see how the damage I've done for it. I think this is my second bottle, but I'm already looking at the figures I'm going to spend refilling it. But I have to get it because it's one of my, it's like right now, this is a scent that I wear and I've got so many compliments. A head turner, clean, it's versatile. You can wear it anywhere, anytime. So this Louis Vuitton Imagination costs some good bucks. I think that is for me for the top 10.
That is amazing. Yes. Again, I don't know how I will stop saying this, but like this is gonna be up there as one of my favorite podcasts because this is something I was looking forward to when I was starting a podcast. Is somebody to educate other people, and today I'm saying it because you are educating me. Like, you know, this is something I'm passionate about. This is something I love. I love perfumes, you know, like it connects to me a lot. And I'm hoping that a lot of people out there picked up something, people who love perfumes. And there's not much things we can say, like, but just getting to learn about perfumes. And I know there's a lot of stuff that we could have covered. I remember when you told me on the phone, when you said with perfumes, we can go like deep. It's a long conversation because I know there's like a lot of things that you'd have covered today. But one question I'm gonna end with on this perfume is, what are some of the common mistakes and conceptions when buying perfumes and using perfumes? I know we talked about some of them, about how to spray them, but if there's anything you can add on to that, the mistakes and conceptions.
Yes, I think we quite mentioned there are a lot of mistakes that you do, but I think I'll run over them very quickly. If there are those ones I haven't touched on, I think maybe I'll just have to polish. But number one of the common mistakes we do is to be snobs. So a snob is somebody who thinks he knows too much, you know. So you just walk into a perfume store and say, what is your most expensive perfume? And you buy. Two is, hey, Bonnie, you smell so good. What perfume are you doing? So it's a mistake. You just don't buy perfumes because somebody has told you that a perfume smells so good. Just like I explained later, because perfumes have different journey trajectory with the body. Perfumes and allergens, and people have different allergens that people smell differently. People have different body odor. People have different aspirations. So you cannot wear a perfume because somebody has told you it smells so good. That is a mistake that people do. Three is another mistake that I pointed out, is spraying on the clothes. I think that one I made it so clear. Four is wearing the wrong perfume for the wrong occasion. This one I have to again shed more lights, because wearing a wrong perfume for the wrong occasion. Bonnie, you're going to a club. You need a perfume that makes statement, a perfume that is loud. But then you're wearing a clubbing fragrance in an office. So people start getting irritated. So wear the right perfume for the right occasion. Another common mistake is wearing the wrong perfume for the wrong weather. There are perfumes that are made. That is why we say this is a summer fragrance. This is a winter fragrance. I'm pretty sure you understand that, you know, from the context which you operate in. So some fragrances that are worn in summer, they are very light skin. They are very light. So in summer, you want something that because the sun is on high rate. So you must wear something that is very light. You don't have to have a vanilla scent and it's really hot. So you end up spilling. So wearing the wrong fragrance for the wrong weather. Another mistake is rubbing fragrances. You've seen a situation where somebody walks into us in a perfume store, then sprays, then starts rubbing. No, that is not right. Because when you're wearing a fragrance, perfumes, like I mentioned earlier, they have a journey. is from the opening notes to the dry down. So when you rub up a fragrance, because of the notes, now you kill the whole story. Let the perfume run. Let the perfume run from the beginning to the end. Another mistake that I would say is people do is layering. I think I have to mention layering. I think for you, maybe you may not understand, but layering is using two perfumes that smells differently. But you've seen a situation where somebody uses like these are two different fragrances, but you spray here, you spray here. That is wrong because perfumes have different notes. I'll give you the best example. It's like you are eating food. I'm pretty sure when you're eating food, you need to have like something that makes a stew. Then you have to have on the other side if it's water. And then maybe you're taking, for example, you have fish, then you have like posho, or you have your greens. But in this case, perfumes have different notes. So you find somebody wearing two different. Actually, it's called layering. Wearing two different or three. Some people even wear 3 perfumes at once. So that is like doing an entire category. You may find yourself, if you don't understand the context very well, you may find yourself it's like eating posho, rice, and starch, posho, rice, and cassava.
Mm-hmm.
You see, that is a combination that cannot work.
Yeah.
So even when you're doing layering is good, but layering, leave it for the professional. Somebody who understands the dry down. If you understand the dry down, then you can do the perfume. But if you don't understand, I don't advise people to wear 2 fragrances at the same time. I think those are a few that I could mention. I could go on and on, but
No.
I think for now, let's do that.
Definitely, those are helpful. And if people have learned something today, they will remember all those. But again, Kenneth, I really appreciate your time and just sitting down with me and just go on to talk about this perfume. And I'm sure if I was going to say, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are going to change. But if there's anybody out, if there's nobody out there who has learned something, at least you got me. I learned something today, and you studied with me. So others, if they don't, but I'm gonna we're gonna finish this episode. But I have 3 questions I'm gonna ask you. These are quick questions. Just give a one answer, one sentence. What's a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
One of the best lessons I've learned in the life is the value of consistency.
Yeah, that's good.
Consistency, and I borrow heavily from Collier's book, The Atomic Habits, where you have to be consistent, pick up small habits, turn the small habits into continuation, keep up, clear, have a vision, work on the small habits slowly by slowly, consistently. You'll definitely get there.
That is true. That's a good one. What gets you excited about life?
What gets me excited about life is just the ability to change someone's life. The ability to see somebody has been transformed. The ability to wake up tomorrow and there's somebody who has a smile on his face. I think that one just makes life more beautiful.
That's another good one. And remember the question I asked you at the beginning where I told you how you ended up on my podcast? So this is the 3rd question. It's a signature question for my podcast.
Yes.
Who would you like to see on this podcast next? And you're going to help me to get that person here to be my next guest.
I think the next person that I would really love you to bring to this podcast is it's also going to be a very interesting topic, and I think this is more informative as well. And I'd really wish if you could get her. Actually, she's a lady. I'd want you to bring her on board. She's called Leah Kinywa. She does skincare.
Okay.
And if you could get your time, maybe you can just check Glycerin. You could see some of the context. She's really good with skincare. She will tell you a lot about skincare, from how you do your skin type. She's very extensive when it comes with skincare. So I think that is one person that I would really recommend you to bring. There's more and more you pick up from her. I'm pretty sure there's more and more you learn from her.
No, that is amazing. And part of the question was for you to connect me to the people, but I'll go ahead and send that invitation to them.
No, I will definitely. I'll definitely reach them out, and I'll recommend them to reach out as well. But you'll learn more. You'll check them out. Check what she does. You'll see a lot of things. I'm pretty sure you'll bring her to this podcast.
That's amazing. And I love these informative podcasts because it's with a goal, it's with a purpose to just inform the people about something. I mean, it's always good to sit down and laugh and joke around and but sometimes it's good to learn something. At least you don't put your 1 hour to waste is something
Yeah.
that you've learned.
Yes, actually, before I even go into that, I think there's one thing that I didn't begin with, and I feel I cheated myself on in the entire interview. I have a motto. One of the slogans that I love using is for the Perfume Plus. Actually, is the power of persuasion is stronger than words. I'll repeat it again. The power of persuasion is stronger than words. Perfume can persuade before you even utter a word. Your scent can speak before you open your mouth. So the power of persuasion, which comes from the perfume, is stronger than words.
Hey there, my name is Bonnie Chibuka, the podcast host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Also, leave a feedback on this podcast because that's how we grow. Thank you very much and be blessed.
This is very interesting. My name is Kenneth Otieno, the CEO of Perfume Plus Uganda. I am so glad to be here today at Danceoff Studios. Quite amazing things that we've learned today. Today, the conversation has been about perfumes, how to choose the right perfumes, common mistakes we make about perfumes, my top 10 fragrances. It's always a pleasure when you're in the studio. So I'm lucky to be here. And I think the conversation is going to be crazy. Big up Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thank you so much.
All right, so that's the end of it. I'll leave you in the hands of DOP, Danceoft. But again, Kenneth, thank you very much for your time and doing this recording with me.
I appreciate so much, man. I can't wait for you to come. When you touch ground, then most definitely I'll look for you.
All right, no problem. We'll link up.
I appreciate that.
I'll get with you on WhatsApp because I'll need some media pictures. But also I'll have Dan take
Yes.
some pictures of you in the studio. And we'll use that for the graphics and to do our promotion for the podcast, for the episode.
I appreciate so much, man. It's my pleasure, man. It's
All
my
right.
pleasure.